In today's video, Neville Goddard discusses a very fascinating subject. He will discuss signs in our environment, particularly signs from the cosmos. One of the most telling symptoms is a sudden feeling of optimism about the future. If you've been feeling depressed lately but have now started to feel upbeat about the future, it's possible that you now have confidence in your ability to land your ideal job. It can indicate that your manifestation is about to happen. This is crucial to understand since a change in attitude typically follows an increase in faith and confidence that this very event, no matter how big or tiny, will turn out for the best. This makes it obvious that your optimistic affirmation might come true. When you observe a minor sign, you might even become aware of the high vibrations of energy. One of the early indicators of manifestation work is this. Another significant indicator is when you run across someone who can assist you, a friend, or even an arbitrary stranger. Another indication is if you receive an unexpected fortune. An unexpected financial windfall is the next indicator that manifestation is about to occur. This might take the form of a week bonus, a new position, a new car, a lottery win, or even just stumbling upon some spare change. Regardless of how it happens, this extra cash is a sure sign that your wish is about to come true. Whoever it is, they usually come into your life when you just need them. The best approach to comprehending a particular sign is to speak with an expert. The next indication is when you begin acting on inspiration. You'll notice that you're taking a lot more inspired action when you're in sync with your purpose. As a result, you'll notice you're acting with great inspiration. This implies that you'll discover you're performing a particular action. You start to feel as though it has already happened, which is our last indication. You could start to feel like your objective has already been accomplished as you near it. Perhaps there will be more instances of good news. This is so that you can begin vibrating at that frequency because the cosmos will provide you with hints of what is to come. Your objective is progressing well when you start to feel enthusiastic and confident about it. Before we continue, let's let Neville speak for himself. If you enjoy videos like these, make sure to click the bell icon and subscribe to our channel. Be sure to pay close attention. Enjoy!
Signs and wonders. In Scripture, a sign is a demonstration of God's favor. As we are told in the 86th Psalm, and David is speaking, "Show me a sign of thy favor." He wants a sign. There are certain signs, there are definite signs by which he leads his people out of Egypt. The journey is from darkness to light, from bondage to freedom, from death to life. So while we are here in this world, a world of death, a world of bondage, a world of darkness, there are certain signs, and we ask for the sign of your favor to start the journey out of this world of bondage into freedom, out of death into life. In the 78th Psalm, one whose name is Asaph. The word means to gather together, like a historian. 12 are attributed to this one called Asaph. He is the gatherer. He is the historian. And he begins the story. He said, "Give me your ears." He's asking for attention to those that he will address. And then he said, "I will open my mouth to you in a parable and utter dark sayings from of old." And then he recites the Exodus. That is, he recites the signs in the book of Exodus. All the signs and the wonders and the miracles of God. But he begins by telling us it is a parable. Well, a parable is a story told as if it were true, leaving the one who hears it to discover its fictitious nature, its character, and extract its true meaning. Just what it is trying to tell man. It's difficult to tell these stories on this level, so they're told in the form of, well, signs and wonders. In the very end of this psalm, he said, "And the Lord awoke as like a man out of strong, strong drink." He was buried in wine, as it were. And then he called David. The Lord awoke as from a dream, a deep, deep sleep imposed as though he had excessive wine. And then he called David. And then it goes on to show the story of David. But first of all, we must remember it is a parable. Paul tells us in his letter to the Galatians, which is considered the first letter or the first book of the New Testament. It's not chronologically so today, but it is chronological as far as its dating goes. It's the first portion of the New Testament. And he tells us the story of Abraham is an allegory. If the story of Abraham is an allegory, well then the story of Jesus is an allegory. For the New Testament begins on these words. Here is the book. Here is the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. And then it goes through the genealogy. Well, if the story of Abraham is an allegory, then the story of Jesus is an allegory. Yet behind the allegory, behind the parable, there is a tremendous truth. See, there are two histories in the world. History is simply what occurs. What actually occurs is history. But what man likes to remember is legend. And there is a legend. Scripture is the legend. That too is history, but it's divine history. It's the history of salvation. That will be forever and forever. Human history will pass away and leave not a trace behind it. I don't care how we try to map our faces on the mountainside and build monuments to ourselves and make all kinds of statues. It will all crumble and pass away. Everything that man has ever accomplished in this world will all vanish. But divine history is forever. It's like a standing order. Something to be done absolutely and continuously. So that not one being in this world experiences the signs and the wonders. Everyone will experience the signs and the wonders. And when he experiences these signs and wonders, then he reinterprets Scripture in the light of his own experience of Scripture, in the signs and wonders. He realizes what the birth really means. When we are told, as Simon tells us, this child, this little child called the Christ child, is a sign for the fall and rising of many in Israel. It's a sign. The whole story of Jesus, if you understand it, is a sign. Everything about it, all the things about him, are all signs. And the story will unfold itself in you, individually. God's mightiest act, in the light of which all the other signs and wonders of Jesus' career are understood, is the resurrection. That begins the signs and wonders. The individual's resurrection is simply equivalent to the coming of Christ. When you are raised, it is simply equal to the coming of Christ. And it doesn't come from without, it comes from within. Today, here we are, all of these great evangelists, highly publicized, speaking to millions of people, and they're waiting for him to come from without. hoping they'll be here to greet him. They'll wait in vain. He cannot come from without, because he's already within us. The crucifixion is over, and it did not take place 2,000 years ago. It took place in the beginning of time. That's when God was buried in man for a purpose, not because of anything that was wrong, just for a purpose. He took the limit of contraction, which is man, that he may expand. By coming down to the very limit of contraction, then God could expand. For expansion is forever. Forever and forever. There can be no limit to the expansion of God. In order to expand, he first contracts. And man is the contraction that he took upon himself. And this is the only cross in the world that he ever bore. He was never crucified on a wooden cross. I presume that some nut in the world took a man and actually crucified him on a wooden cross, no question about it. That some distorted mind did it, as we hang people and do these things to each other. But the actual cross spoken of in Scripture is the human body. That is the cross on which God is crucified. And as we are told, if we have been crucified with him in a death like this, we shall certainly be united with him in a resurrection like this. For we found union with him in a crucifixion like this. We're all crucified. I am, you are. Therefore, when we are individually raised from the dead, we shall find union with him in a resurrection like this. And everyone is going to be raised, but raised out of this body, not out of some little tomb in the cemetery. It doesn't matter where you drop this little garment, whether it's pulverized by a bomb, whether it's cremated, as so many of us today require, or whether it simply disintegrates in the land. It doesn't really matter. It's not there that you are. This is the tomb of God. This is the sepulchre of God. And here, and only here, we rise, and we rise from within. And these are the signs and the wonders. It begins with the resurrection. And the very night of the resurrection, within a matter of moments following the resurrection, is the birth from above, symbolized in the imagery of Scripture as a little child wrapped in swaddling clothes, which Simeon said it is a sign given to us for the fall and the rising of many in Israel. In other words, here is the sign. You can either accept it or reject it. You accept it as the sign, as Matthew tells us, of Emmanuel. God is with us. For this is the name given to the child. God is with us. When you see the child, then for that moment, it is God that is born. But who is born? You are born. You are the one who actually begins to awake. You awake within your own skull. And when you're completely awake, as you have never been awake before, you find yourself completely entombed within your skull. That's the sepulchre. And you're all alone, and no one helps you to get out. But you have an innate wisdom. You know exactly what to do. And you do it.